Assalamualaikum and good days to Dr. Norashidin and my fellow friends. We are from Group 4. We're presenting a theory that introduced by scholar Henry Mintzberg. Okay, our group consists of me, Hayati, Ravi and Arvin. Let's continue with introduction of scholar. Okay, Henry Mintzberg was born on 2nd September 1939 in Canada. He is an academician and also a book author of business management. He has read about 150 articles and 15 books about strategy and management. For academic achievement, he had 2 degrees and 1 PhD. First degree is in mechanical engineering, second degree in management, and also PhD in management. Currently, he is a professor in McGill University. Okay, next is his contribute in management concept and theories. Okay, Henry Mintzberg has identified that management is chaotic because of the quick decision in tense and emotional environment. He also has conducted the research by examining the managers in organization and also organizational framework. Okay, from this research, he came up with theory management. For the history of the theory, it will be explained by my fellow friend Ravi.
Good day, Doctor. So today I'm going to present about the history of the concepts. Over the past decade, several management ideas have been proposed with the goal identifying managerial work that can lead to the developments of the manager's abilities and thereby the accomplishments of the most productive and successful result at works. Many of the ideas address management in a conventional way, such as Henry Fayos, who notes that the roles of the managers can only be represented a predefined set of manager roles that include planning, organizing, controlling, commanding, and coordinating. So, but the management professor and expert Henry Mintzberg criticized traditional management theories. In order to understand the nature of the manager works, he conducted a research to define the management's work that will lead to upgrading the manager's abilities. Mintzberg has done observational studies by observing everyday activities of 5 executives for 1 week durations. He proposed 10 managerial roles that categorized into 3 groups. So you can see this is the interpersonal roles. So under the interpersonal roles have figurehead roles, leader roles, and liaison roles. So under information roles have a monitor roles, disseminator roles, spokesperson roles. Under decisional roles have entrepreneur roles, disturbance handler roles, resource allocator roles, and negotiator roles. Next, I'm going to explain in details of interpersonal roles. Interpersonal roles functions contribute to the actions of the managers who is skills in interpersonal interactions with individuals such as employees, customers, business members, and many more. As I mentioned before, under the interpersonal role consists of leader, license, and figurehead. So first of all, the leader. So the leader, it is where the managers provide leadership for his staff, subordinate teams, the departments, or even the entire organizations. As a leader, the manager is out to motivate and direct subordinate as well as train, influence, and advise them. Also, a part of being a leader is to manage the responsibility and performance of all the members in the group. So for example, the CEO of AirAsia, Tan Sri Anthony Francis Fernandez, decided to start up an airline in one of the airlines industry's hardest moment, right after the September attacks, in which hundreds of the people lost their lives and the passengers were too scared to travel. He struggled despite the unfortunate starting position. He put in Asia's mottos, now everybody can fly, dreams that is easily to grasp and easily evident to all. Fernandez adapted Rainer's business model to achieve its goal and took it to Asian economy. This is show a clear leadership roles. Okay, next is lessons. Lessons means the manager should communicate with contact inside and outside the organizations. Hence, managers need to develop and maintain a network of internal and external contacts in order to effectively communicate and sustain the information links between within and beyond the organizations. So, for examples like uh, Proton Holdings have made the preservation of free contact between employees and the management. Proton has set in place a number of programs expressly intend to promote this coordination such that workers can reach their full potentials and advance with the business. Initiatives require transparency of main performance indicators, joint assessments, improving of staffing structures, and streamlining of the operation schemes across the communities. So the next role is figure 8. Figure 8 considered to be the symbolic head of the organizations, thus the managers is expected to hold social, legal and ceremonial responsibility in addition to performing a symbolic duties and being seen as a source of inspiration, where employees look to the managers as a part of the as a persons with authorities. For examples like again the Fernandez, Tony Fernandez, has a major belief on big dreams, where has set our outstanding example as a figure 8, particularly when there is a significant event for his business. He is always there and eager to represent the business. Because of his role as a great leader, they will think of Asia if the world of business thinks of Tony Fernandez. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, next is informational roles. Under this role, it divided into three, which it is monitor, disseminators, and spokesperson. Under informational roles is to ensure that information is provided. First, monitor. Under this role, the managers is responsible to collecting the information either from outside of the company or inside of the company. And then he need to analyze the information. Okay, for example, at Proton Holding Berhad, CEO Dr. Lee Chung Ron constantly reviewing the competitive, technologically, and also regulatory trends in the market. Besides that, he also monitoring the performance of different unit of Proton. For example, we know that Proton have produced different models of car, so he want to know which car that perform better than other models. Okay, so that managers rely on this internal and external information. Important internal information can include the sales, total sale, account information, and so on. But for external information, they can get from authorized dealer of Proton. Okay, next is disseminator. Under this role, The manager is responsible to transmitting the valuable information to subordinates or team working within the organization. For example, CEO of the Proton told to the top managers and executive and also senior engineer that they want to produce economic cars, so that this group of people can work together to set their goal, to set up the goals. Okay, this elimination role manager regularly inform their staff about the company's direction, but supervisor level, it's often take one-to-one informal conversation. Okay. For the next roles, it will be explained by Ravi.
Okay, hello everyone. The third managerial role for Henry Mintzberg is decisional role. So what the manager is going to do under this role is, this role explain about how a manager would use to the information he gathered from previous two roles, which is informational, interpersonal, to take a decision. So for this decisional role, there is four subcategories, which is entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiation. The first role for decisional role is entrepreneur. What a manager going to do under this role is combine the factor of production to produce a good and service. This is a basic general definition for entrepreneur. But what a manager is going to do as an entrepreneur in an organization is initiate the changes, new ideas, or delegate his responsibility. And at the same time, when a manager plays a role as an entrepreneur, he also needs to bear a risk and ready to be existing status quo, which means current situation. So for an example, for the application part, we can take a successful entrepreneur in entertainment industry, which is the founder of Astro in Malaysia, Tan Sri Anandakrishan. As we know, before he start this business, Astro in our country, there is a huge amount of investment needed to be done in technical part, but he is willing to bear the risk and invest it in and successfully become more famous among Malaysians before the YouTube and Netflix take place in our daily life. So this is how an entrepreneur take a risk and to be a successful. Role is disturbance handler. For disturbance handler, a manager going to take a corrective action to deal with an unexpected problem facing by the organization. So at the same time, managers also as a disturbance handler deal with the streets and roadblocks to an organization. These streets and roadblocks can come from the internal or external environment. So to be a disturbance handler, a manager can react proactively or reactive. Proactive means before a problem occurs or the effect comes to an organization, you already taken measure or action to minimize the effect to an organization. Compared to reactive, which means reactive is wait and see mechanism. Manager wait and see till the problem occurred, and later on he take a decision to minimize or reduce the effect, which is not a good strategy as a manager, for the manager to be an reactive. So for the application part, we can take a successful entrepreneur in cosmetic industry, Dato Sri Vida. So as we know, in 2017, he have been encountered with the GST problem, which is he failed to pay the GST amount to the custom, and he have to attend the court and so on. So which this will become a big disturbance to his well-known product. So as a disturbance handler, she able to settle that money as soon as possible to maintain its business reputation and back to the track. The third role for decisional role is resource allocator, which a simple definition of economics can describe this role, which is uh, economy actually deal with how we are going to use the limited resources to fulfill an unlimited wants and needs. The same goes to the resource allocator role for end manager. So the manager allocate organization resources among different tasks and departments of the organization efficiently and effectively. So managers need to decide where and how to apply the limited resources efficiently and effectively, because we want to minimize the waste of resources. So for the application part, we can take a successful and very near to our UUM, or the person who have a strong connection with our university, which is Dr. Michael Teo. So for our discussion of application, we take the resource allocation of Dr. Michael Teo in terms of human resource. So he have introduced a new system in his organization, which is Smart Tracker. The degree holder can be a driver for certain period, for example 3 to 4 years, and later he become an executive manager in office, which means he utilize his well-known or graduate or educated uh, human resource in his organization to acquire both practical and theoretical knowledge. This is a well-known program, and I think there is no another logistic company introduce this kind of program such as a smart tracker, which means a degree holder can be an lorry driver. So the last role for additional role is a negotiation, which means a manager collaborate or pair up with others to create a win-win situation, which means, for example, a manager negotiate with the stakeholders such as supplier in terms of contract of sale and in terms of delivery of supplies and so on. So at that negotiation process, the manager will represent the organization, and he also need to be equipped with some communication skill to create a win-win situation, which means when a manager negotiate with other party, that might be a mutual benefit to both the organization and the party who involved in the negotiation. So for the application part, we can take a successful social entrepreneur, which is Dato Sri Haji Mutsabak Kamal. He is one of the founder of world's one of the foundation or rehabilitation center for orangutan at in our country to prevent the orangutan from extinct in our country. So when he become a social entrepreneur, he communicate or negotiate with government agency, non-government agency, and also with higher education to do some research and development to protect this species in our country.
The benefits of managerial roles. By using Mintzberg theory, we found that the managers spend less time in planning, arranging, directing, scheduling, and managing his management. For the first benefit is enhancing teamwork achievement through informal communication among employees. Okay, under informational role, as I explained before, is to ensure the information is provided, so that by using this role, the managers can make sure or ensure that the information is verified and directly delivered to employees. Second is standardize of work processes that facilitate teamwork achievement. Third, standardize of skill and knowledge. Under this benefit is come from the role of resources allocators. Okay. Under resource allocators, the managers can make sure the job can be done by the right employees that's suitable with his or her skills and knowledge. 4 is standardize of standards, which are the rules that govern the activities managed throughout the organization. Okay, for these benefits, is come from the stubborn handlers, because by using that role, the managers can set set new rules or standards that to control the environment in organization or employees, to ensure that there will no problem happen in organization. For the last benefit is enable employees to recognize the managers or supervisors to give instruction on what to do at workplace. Okay. As I mentioned before, since the managers deliver the information to employees, it gives chance to the employees to know who is their supervisor or managers. So when they know, they can directly communicate with them, whether when they have a problem to discuss. Okay, that's all from me.
Okay, everyone. Let's proceed with the criticism of the managerial roles introduced by Andrew Mintzberg. Generally, there is 5 criticism about his managerial roles. So let's discover or understand more each and every criticism on the following sections. Okay, the first criticism is management theory introduced by Andre Fayol. So Andre Fayol argues that management functions are accurately describe a manager's job opposed to managerial roles introduced by Henry Mintzberg. So Henry Fayol argues that this function, which is management functions, suits all the managed even from they are from different fields. As we know, managerial functions or management theory describe managerial function as we know POLC, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. So this criticism tell that this management function suites are more relevant to all managers compared to managerial roles introduced by the Henry Mintzberg. Next, the second argument tells about the observation does not show managers exercise. This is because Henry Mintzberg come out with managerial roles based on his observation study on what a manager daily do, and he come out with this concept based on his observation. There is no any such evidence. All managers are practice these kind of 10 roles, which categorize into 3 main: interpersonal, informational, and relational. Therefore, critics argue that there is no enough finding to support his finding, which is managerial roles. And moreover, his approach does not analyze the function of management, which means critics argues that the finding of managerial rules introduced by Andrew Mintzberg is such a surface level compared to in-depth, which is management function more to in-depth level compared to which means the managerial rules just a surface level. The observation does not show managers exercise means the Henry Mintzberg just come out with the concept based on his observation. Maybe the person who Henry Mintzberg observed might be practice these kind of rules, maybe other managers might be not. So this is the criticism saying that observation is not an accurate finding for his concept. Moreover, the third criticism says that perplexity between the terms managing and doing. What mean by this criticism is that the confusion between what is meant by managing and doing. So Mintzberg fail to give arguments for distinguish managers supervision with everything they do. For instance, selling of good or finish when made by a sales representative compared to managing. What is mean by managing here is, meanwhile, this transaction which is selling a good is considered as managing when that task need a supervision from the managers. So there is no such evidence saying that what is that highlight the difference between the managing and doing. So this is also a criticism on Henry Mintzberg managerial roles. The fourth criticism is small study table. This is because, as we know, there is such table as and Morgan table tell that if the population is certain amount, the sample should be certain amount. So critics argue that Henry Mintzberg conduct a survey or study on just 5 CEO from different organizations, and he come up with a conclusion. As we know, 5 is not sufficient, as you know there is thousands of managers around the world. So this study sample is very small to come out with an conclusion. So it said that managers are practicing managerial roles compared to management function. As a normal human, we also can argue that this fine, because as we know, you just observe 5 CEO. Can you imagine how many CEO, how many managers in our nation compared to around the world? So how come Henry Mintzberg just take in count just a 5 is a very few. So it is the study finding is not an accurate compared to maybe he might study and 500 or 5,000 managers, then he can come out with this kind of findings for the managerial roles. So this is the criticism, said that his study sample is not sufficient to support his finding for Henry Mintzberg managerial roles. Last but not least, the last criticism highlight that Henry Mintzberg managerial concept is a general concept. What is meant by general concept is the critics argues that certain roles from these three, interpersonal, informational, or decisional, functioning more different in different working setting. For example, every job not using this interpersonal, informational, decisional at one time. Maybe some jobs used interpersonal more than informational, or some job might use decisional more than interpersonal or informational. There is such evidence show that every work or job using these three kind of interpersonal, information, and decisional role. So that might be maybe some job use only one, some might be two, or some might be three. Either one, it's based on the work of nature. So for instance, an academic administration using and practice more interpersonal role compared to informational and decisional role. So as we can see the picture is there is different roles. So these different kind of jobs using different kind of role from these three, which is interpersonal, informational, decisional. So some might use decisional more in their work compared to interpersonal. Another job might be used informational more than interpersonal or decisional. It's based on the job setting compared to we come out with a general concept. So Andre Mintzberg come out with a general concept that these managerial roles can apply to all. It is not impossible to apply these Andre Mintzberg managerial to all jobs. Some might be significant in certain points, some might be not significant in another point. That's it from me. Thank you for watching.
For the conclusions, Mintzberg argues the functional management theories introduced by the Henry Files was forked roles. Mintzberg believes that the manager constantly switch roles in accordance with the change in situations, tasks, and expectations. Mintzberg's model is based on the actual and real observations of the managers at work. The 10 roles can be specialized to any managerial situations, and it is up to the managers to act by the switching roles. So that's all from us. Thank you.